This is the Conditional Statements tutorial. Let's talk about a conditional statement. This is a statement that can be written in the form if X, then Y. Let's break that down a little bit. The premise of a conditional statement, which is sometimes known as the hypothesis or antecedent, refers to the value of X in the conditional statement. So that's the if X part. That's the premise or hypothesis. The conclusion of a conditional statement is sometimes known as the consequent, and that refers to the value of Y in the conditional statement. So that spot, then Y, that comes after the if X. So here's an example that we have of a conditional statement. If it is raining, then you need to wear a raincoat. The premise of this conditional statement is it is raining, because that's the if X, that's the X right there. If X, if it's raining, and the conclusion is you need to wear a raincoat. That's the part that comes after the then Y. So, then you need to wear a raincoat. If it's raining, then you need to wear a raincoat. That's the premise and conclusion that make up a conditional statement. Let's take a look now at some of the ways that conditional statements can be modified. We'll begin by working with our example conditional statement. If it is raining, then you need to wear a raincoat. The first modification to this we'll do is an inverse. This is created when one negates both the premise and the conclusion. So, for example, the premise of our conditional statement, if you recall, was if it is raining. And the conclusion was then you do not need to wear a then you do need to wear a raincoat. So, the inverse of that would be to negate both the premise and conclusion. If it is not raining, then you do not need to wear a raincoat. We've negated both the premise and conclusion. The second modification that someone could make to a conditional statement is to take the converse of that conditional statement. The converse is created by switching the premise and conclusion. So if you look at the example up top, the original example, if it is raining, then you need to wear a raincoat, and you switched the premise and conclusion, what you'd get is, if you need to wear a raincoat, then it is raining. So that's made up just by switching the premise and conclusion in the original conditional statement. The last modification that you could make to a conditional statement is the contrapositive. The contrapositive is created by switching and negating the premise and conclusion. So essentially, it's the combination of the inverse and converse statements. So again, our original conditional statement was, if it is raining, then you need to wear a raincoat. So first we want to switch those. If you need to wear a raincoat, then it is raining. That's the converse. But then we want to negate both of those, the premise and the conclusion. So, if you do not need to wear a raincoat, then it is not raining. We've switched the premise and conclusion, and we've negated both of them. That would be the contrapositive. Now, when working with conditional statements, you could have any one of these. You could be asked to take the inverse of a statement, the converse of a statement, or the contrapositive of a statement. So you need to be able to remember which each one of these is.